as part of our comprehensive inspection is to pull a permit history on that property. So we're going to find out, hopefully, when the last time the roof was replaced, electric, plumbing updates, any major construction additions to the property, etc. Make sure that work's been permitted. But it also allows us to get a date on the systems to be able to take a look at the typical lifespan. And then also while we're inspecting, we're going to take a look at the condition. Now, the condition is subjective. That is our opinion, what the condition is. The functionality is not subjective. The age is not subjective. I don't necessarily look at, okay, this says it's 25 years, and we're at 25 years, there's no shelf life left, it's over. Condition does play a role into it. And there are sometimes, from an insurance standpoint, an insurance company, they have hard and fast rules about what they expect. And say, for example, you have an asphalt shingled roof and it's over 20 years old, they're going to send somebody like me out to do a roof certification and ensure that there's more roof life left there. And they rely on our expert opinion and our inspection to insure your property based on that. And if we go back out there and we say, oh, the roof is 25 years old, but it's in good condition, it was well maintained, they shampooed it, etc., it looks like it has another 3 to 5 years left. They'll accept that because of our professional certifications, etc., whatnot. So it's a little bit of both.
Because I was just thinking, well, we were talking about having multiple bids on a house, and a lot of them come in with FHA or VA. And if you're sitting on a house with a 17-year-old roof, if you know ahead of time that the inspector says it's going to have, because I think their rules, they vary, but it's anywhere from about 5 years, I think, on FHA and VA, or 3 to 5 years left, and you come out ahead of time before it's up for sale, and you go, I don't know as I would give it 3 to 5 years. We know that there's no use trying to encourage an FHA buyer because it's going to be thrown out as soon as they have it inspected.
And then you brought up a great point, because one of the nice things you can do is, if you know that already and you know that that's something that you need to either correct or you're going to eliminate that portion of the marketplace, those buyers, the FHA and VA buyers, that's a discussion you can have with the seller and say, look, especially in our marketplace where you have a lot of VA activity, you have veterans, you have active duty military right here in this county, you are eliminating a large portion of the market. So it might behoove you to change the roof or to update the roof, etc. But that's a great point.
And the other, go ahead, Jonathan.
No, I was just going to say, again, along those same lines, I don't mean this in any way derogatory to an inspector.
Yeah, no.
However, I do know, and I
no offense taken, John the attorney.
Yet. Yeah, really. But what I do know is inspectors will go in and find stuff wrong with the place. No matter how perfect you think your home is, no matter how much you've cleaned it up and all of that, your job, Adam, is to go through and check everything and make a note of everything. So inspection reports are, by their very existence, tend to be negative because they're showing all the things wrong. It's you don't put in there, wow, wonderful roof, this is great. You say, at best you'll say 10 years left, which would sound good, yes. But there's really no positivity in an inspection report.
No, and I will say this, our reports, and we try not to be alarmists, because there are some inspectors that will kind of give the old adage, make mountains out of molehills.
Absolutely, that's where I was going.
We red flag only functional, safety, structural concerns. We don't red flag minor things. We don't red flag an outlet that is miswired, that literally is a very simple fix of changing the hot and neutral wires around or something to that effect. We're not going to red flag cosmetic things because we don't want our clients to think that these are major problems, because when a major problem is identified and it's mixed in with all these other red flags and other items, then it gets minimized.
Right.
And we don't want to minimize the major problems, and we don't want to maximize the minor problems, if you will. So we definitely report in a very factual manner, in a non-alarmist form, but you're right. We are there to tear the house apart,
to find
if you will,
wrong with
a fine-tooth comb, and make sure that our clients are what they're purchasing
they
is
know what they're
expecting.
purchasing. Absolutely. And one of the places a real estate agent, a realtor comes in is having the knowledge and experience to review the report with their client and recognize, again, your reports are great because they don't have that alarmist. I remember from my own experience many years ago when I purchased the building I'm in, if I had listened to the inspector, I would not have bought it. I mean, he basically said I wouldn't buy this place, and he was incredibly alarmist, and I've had numerous experiences like that. And again, the job of the inspector is to point out the problem. So if there's a problem, by all means, you want to know it, but that doesn't make it a bad purchase. It just means you either renegotiate a price a little bit, or maybe you've already getting a great deal on it. And yes, it has these deficiencies, but
one thing we never like to assume is what somebody's goal with the property is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We might find the fact that the kitchen needs to be totally replaced. The cabinets are falling off the walls. The stove and range don't work, etc. But
they might be buying it for a rehab.
They might be buying it for a rehab, exactly. So the one question we will never answer is, would you buy this house yourself?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not what they're there to determine. We don't have the same goals as the buyer. We don't have knowledge as to what their goals are unless they've shared with us what their goals are. And we do have investors who we work with who tell us, look, I don't need you to check every single outlet. I'm rewiring the house. I'm doing this. We're going to knock all these walls down. Don't worry about the paint and the finish and all this stuff. And in those situations, we'll create an a la carte inspection, if you will. We'll go over what's important to the client.
The major items.
Exactly.
The major structurals and such.
But yeah.
So you do full inspections, but you'll also come out and do just roofs for roof mitigation for insurance. But the inspections that you don't do are termite and maybe wells and septic
termite,
tanks.
mold, septic. Now, we will do a limited inspection, and it's not to say that we're not looking for these things while we were on inspection. We're not licensed mold remediators, and we're not licensed wood-destroying organism inspectors or remediators. But we have been trained to recognize the signs of moisture intrusion, the signs of wood rot, the signs of pest intrusion, etc. And if we're noting these things during our inspection, in our inspection report, we're going to recommend to have a wood-destroying organism inspection done. We're going to recommend to have the mold assessment done and remediation done, etc. So I don't want a client to think that, oh, you guys aren't mold remediators. You didn't see anything. There's mold all over my house. We are still looking for that. We just can't legally define mold, and what we do is refer a professional for that, somebody who is certified.
And right now, a few years ago, there was a lot of short sales and a lot of foreclosures, and of course, maybe those properties were in disrepair. So you were looking at different things for that buyer. Now we're getting a lot of the people that are flipping houses.
Yes,
and it's so important to get an inspection because those. I have to tell this. I tell this story, and it's about a 25-year-old story now, but it still stays with me. That. I had a house in Rockledge. I was the buyer's rep. We walked in there, and it's all new things because flippers put in new carpet, and it's all shiny and pretty, and it takes their eyes away from maybe things they should be looking at. So we walked into this nice new white bathroom. It looked like it had been remodeled, and everything's all nice and new. So I said, I want you to make sure you tap on all the fascia around this because I was familiar with this house flipper real estate company, and they tended to paint over bad wood. And we did find some bad wood because they painted right over it thinking people wouldn't notice it. So while you're tapping on that fascia, you can tell the difference between good sounding wood and it's hollow, But anyway, the day after they moved in, this is a show that even inspectors get swindled too and scammed out of this. My buyer calls me and said, "Jean, remember the pretty white tile in my master bathroom?" I said, "Yes," and she says, "It's a terrible shade of yellow." I said, "What?" They had painted with just regular house paint over the tile to make it look like it was a brand new white tile, and it was a hideous shade of yellow that. So that tells you that
your shower and all this.
Your shower's a different color. So that shows that even you can't possibly have known that. Well, I didn't know that. Nobody.
A lot of times when people flip houses, there's some evidence as to whether it was professionally done or whether it was the buyer or seller who was doing the actual work themselves, doing a little bit of weekend warrioring, if you will. Some of the things that we like to look at, and this is just hints for anybody who's out there looking for a home and they suspect it's flipped. Take a look if there's fresh paint throughout the house. Take a look through the closet space. A lot of times flippers forget to paint the inside of the closet ceiling, so you can get a little bit better idea if there's been any water damage or anything like that to your ceiling. The other things that they will do are take shortcuts on your flooring. A lot of laminate flooring gets installed, and if that laminate flooring has gaps, chips, undercuts, you can better believe that it's probably been installed by the seller. It's not been installed by a professional. The other thing is if they've done any plumbing updates, take a look under your sinks, and if you see flex drain, which is a flexible pipe, usually that's an amateur installation. It's because somebody hasn't cut their pipe correct, lengths, etc., and that flex pipe gives you a little bit of flexibility. And it also is notorious for clogging because it has grooves in it that collect all the grease, dirt, debris, etc. But those are a couple little hints that let us know that the property's been flipped, and it might not be licensed work, highest quality work, etc. But you run into that occasional silk hat on a pig.
Yes, like a detective. You got lipstick on a pig.
Yeah,
I love
exactly,
it.
and that really is. And we will actually put into our reports if we believe the property's been flipped and there's fresh paint, etc. We will actually, for example, list on the wall condition. We will say the walls have recently been painted, freshly painted, while they are cosmetically, this is a good cosmetic feature. It may be disguising a defect that we cannot see. Some of the things that we can do, though, to go above and beyond and to make sure that we're not seeing any defects or getting defects that are hidden are using things like our infrared cameras, using our temperature gauges, our moisture meters, things of that nature that are going to give us a little bit deeper insight to the property as opposed to just a surface visual representation.
Yes, I know you didn't have that years ago when I had white tile, painted tile to stays with me. But those you have to be a little detective, and I've noticed around windowsills too.
Yes.
If it's freshly painted on inside of a window, it might be because it had been leaking.
Yes.
And they've just freshly painted it.
We like to take our moisture meters around all of the window openings, all of the areas where plumbing's contained, either in the walls or in cabinetry, just to ensure that we're not getting any current active moisture intrusion at that time. A lot of times we can see past intrusion because there's staining, there's bubbling paint, etc. But if a house has been flipped, typically, like you said, they're going to go ahead and paint over that. They're going to go ahead and at least remedy it cosmetically.
Right. Well, Adam, give out your information again.
Okay.
And everybody write this down because you may need a home inspector. Actually, it doesn't hurt to even have a home inspector come out once in a while and look at the house you're living in.
I tell people all the time, you go to the doctor for your annual physical, you take your car in for maintenance. You should probably do that with your home. I'm guilty of it myself. I've lived in my home for almost 14 years now. I've taken the electrical front panel off of it twice. I've been in my attic twice and on my roof several times, but I would venture to guess that most people don't do those types of things, but we can give you an accurate portrayal of exactly what's happening with all the components, condition, functionality of your home, and give you a better idea of the type of maintenance you need to do to maintain it.
Give out that phone number.
Florida Home Inspection Bureau, give us a call if you need an inspection, 321-313-3190.
And I'm Jean Newell with Waterview Realty, and Jonathan Lack is here. He's the broker owner of Waterview Realty, owner of Waterview Title, Lack & Lack Chartered Real Estate Attorneys. We cover everything from foreclosures to Feng Shui, and I'm so glad you came into the office, the studio with us today, because these are things that people don't realize, all the ins and outs of buying and selling, especially if you're out there purchasing and you're looking for a great deal and you gave them some great advice. You have to be a little bit of a detective, have a great real estate agent working on your behalf, whether it's the listing part or the selling part or the buying part. Jonathan, any other good tips that you can add to this?
Just be on top of it. Get your inspections early, review them with your agent, and don't be afraid to purchase a home that might need a little work. Just know what the work is before you purchase it.
Exactly.
Just understand that the home inspection is just giving you the facts. Just the facts, ma'am, like they used to say on Dragnet. Just the facts. And those facts can be interpreted different ways. We really appreciate you being here in the studios with us today, Adam.
Appreciate the invite.
Thank you, Jonathan. And until next week, we're here helping you answer all your questions and helping you solve those problems at Your Hometown Solutions. So join us next week at 1:05 on Mondays and